Yak Mala. Welcome back, my friends, to the Cult Film Showdown. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and I am joyful today to be with my friends to talk about some movies. My friends, Nick Boxer.
Greetings and salutations. We got the Incredible Hulk in the house. I am so excited to talk about this movie.
All right, and James Cotta, are you?
I am thrilled to be here, ready to talk about. I don't know another character Lou Ferrigno played, so the Incredible.
All right,
just that and Hercules.
Yeah,
bad or something too.
Jack Hall, you must know.
I wasn't listening. I was thinking about you called me a friend, and I think of you as an associate.
An associate. Oh, fair enough. That's fine. You know, you can think of me as an associate. It's okay. But, okay, anyways, so the movie...
could have gone with adjacent coworker.
Yeah, something like that. That's a little closer.
Well-wisher. Occasional word bantery person. But, all right. Hercules is the movie. 1983 is the year. And Sybil Danning is, somewhat in this movie. And Sybil Danning is the reason that we are here this season to talk about Sybil Danning and her wonderful talents. And eventually, the goal is to see her naked, which of course we still haven't done, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually.
We haven't, but you say she's somewhat in this movie. The top of her dress is also somewhat in this movie.
Yeah.
So it is amazing that she was in this movie, wore that dress like that, and we never saw areola. It is unbelievable. Talk about skirting the line.
I was looking for her too, because it was going to happen.
I honestly had a moment where I thought Areola was one of the Greek goddesses in the story.
I know, totally.
Like Areola, was she the one that Hercules fell in love with?
Yes, Cassiopeia, Areola, all the same thing. But anyways, Sybil Danning is our season, Hercules is our movie, and Nick Boxer is our explainer of said movie.
Pass.
We give you one job, man. All you gotta do is one job.
Did that not work?
You don't know how much we count on you to explain these to us.
There should be there's notes of this, isn't there?
All right. It starts at the beginning of time, and it explains
it's true.
The creation of the universe, and there's gods, although we only see 3 of them, Hera, Athena, and Zeus, and they live on the moon. And there's man down on Earth that they feel some sort of responsibility for, but they also know that there's evil on Earth. So Zeus decides, evil is a bad thing. We should probably help him out a little bit, but we can't help him too much. So they sort of collectively decide that one man should gain power, so not to be overwhelmed by evil. So he blesses one kid, and it's the son of the king. But unlike the Greek myth, that he doesn't go down and do it with a swan, which would have been actually make more sense, because Hera doesn't like this kid for some reason. I never got her motivation for anything she does in this movie, but whatever. This kid is Hercules. There's this evil King Minos who comes in, and there's a coup, kills the king and the queen, and for some reason the baby is Moses' away down the river. That's all Greek.
Yeah,
that Moses stuff, right? He's raised by farmers, unbeknownst to him that he's a king's son. But Hera still doesn't like him, so she sicks Minos and Minos' flunky god of science against her, against him and his family. There's a couple trials, and Herc survives fine the first 2, but the parents don't, and so Herc decides, there's nothing nothing here at the farm anymore, so I'm going to go out seek my fortune. He goes off to another kingdom, and the king is auditioning for bodyguards for his daughter, Cassiopeia, and Herc just, accomplishes a couple tasks, only one of which, is one of the 12 labors, but that doesn't really matter. And he falls in love with Cassiopeia. But before he can start his official royal duties, she's whisked away, but, by Hera and Sybil Danning, who's King Midas's number 2 gal or something. I have no idea. So Herc goes off in a quest, and he has to do some more quests. It's sort of like a fetch quest thing. He does a quest. He gets a little piece of the puzzle to catch up with Cassiopeia. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but all the tasks are kind of awesome. And then they finally catch up in Atlantis with King Midas and Sybil Danning. He fights the Phoenix, and they live happily ever after, as far as I'm concerned.
I just want to clarify that that's not King Midas, that's King Minos.
Okay. So
Midas is the king of mufflers.
Yes. Just because Midas ultimately
is that in Greek mythology, should he have had a minotaur? Is that the guy?
That actually feels like the guy. Yes, he should have had a minotaur because he does have.
I can't. He could. Herc fights a whole lot of cool monsters and stuff, but they're never from the Hercules story, other than the cleaning of the stables.
Yeah, there's not actually a lot taken from the actual Greek mythology, of course, for sure.
There's some from the Iliad, which is not mythology, but it's Greek.
They kind of take a whole bunch of legends and put them on shuffle for this film, because there's Jason and the Argonauts. There's, as you mentioned, Moses. There's a goodly amount of Superman.
They want this to be Superman. That's what I was thinking. The opening feels like Superman.
Yeah.
They want this.
It's so
Star
much
Wars.
science fiction.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. That's what I was thinking. Star Wars, yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna. We don't often use profanity on this show, but I'm gonna say "fuck you, Joseph Campbell," because this is really Joseph Campbell's fault. This whole thing. Joseph Campbell writes a book, which pushes together a whole bunch of different legends and glosses over the parts where they're different and says they're all basically the same. And then the filmmakers get a hold of this book and they're like, well, then it's not stealing if we take it directly from his book, because he said these are in everything. So the Moses story ends up in Hercules, and the Luke Skywalker leaving the smoking remains of Uncle Owen goes into this.
Yeah, I didn't even get that one. I saw the lightsaber battle at the end.
It's
they fly through space occasionally.
This is very much built on Campbell's structure of you need the special birth, and then you need to be called to action, and you need to say no, and then you're pushed to leave home, and and then the other stuff happens. And then you have a lightsaber battle just like happened in every other. Just like Jesus.
Just like Jesus.
Isn't it more sort of like you're expecting a sword and sandal movie, but it does feel more like a science fiction movie. That's really, really strange. Is it just me, or did you guys feel that as well?
Starting with them on the moon kind of sets that weird tone.
Yeah.
Why they're on the moon. Why it's important that they're on the moon. Because it's not like anyone else goes there. They're just on the moon.
and I don't really understand from a godly perspective of we want to live someplace. Well, let's choose the uninhabitable, globe that circles the Earth, not the Earth itself, which looks habitable. I guess. they were conceived after the original conception of the universe. But yeah, so time's a little fuzzy in this movie. It's one of those cases where this feels like Flash Gordon without the cool soundtrack.
Yeah, so the Zeus and stuff like that you're talking about there on the moon. Where were the people that were the science people located?
like next door neighbors.
Yeah, that's what I felt.
Like they're, yeah, Daedalus and whoever the dude was who was supposed to be, who he talks about how awesome science is and then does nothing but use magic.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
This time it's like you're clearly using magic, and yet you're talking about science. I did not understand that.
But wasn't Daedalus a god, and she was all pissed off that they're worshiping gods? She's the god of technology, according to this movie.
Well, no, she was like, because Minos is a science guy, but he's just like, well, I need to occasionally curry favor with Hera, just in case, kind of thing. Like he's doubling
wasn't
down.
Pissed off that he was using magic. She was just egging him on.
I think she was more just like, you can't keep calling me here to, pray to gods and talk to gods because you don't believe in them.
See, I thought she was a god. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think they knew.
I had a lot of trouble working with Daedalus because I was a big fan of the Hercules cartoon.
Well, sure, yes.
Back in the before time, and Daedalus on that looked a lot like Gargamel.
Uh-huh.
And this doesn't.
And the only centaur that we have in this movie is technical monstrosity.
That does not at any point say Herc, Herc.
No, it's very true.
Herc, Herc.
Which is a shame.
Toot.
I actually thought having the mythological characters as huge robots actually was kind of a neat modification on the legend, but
I do not understand. There's like no creatures that are mythological creatures in this. It's like you say, everything's a robot.
Well, no, you have the Cyclops at the end, which is the big robot dude, and you have the Hydra.
Still a robot.
But I mean, he had 3 heads, or it was the demon dog or whatever with the 3 heads.
Cerberus.
That was a robot dog.
Well,
I don't know what the big moth thing
but it's
was.
the weirdest thing though, because the Cerberus is the guardian of the underworld, but they call it in the movie the Hydra.
Okay, that's the source of my confusion then.
So you're saying the source of your confusion for this movie came from this movie? Now that's the first thing
I think that's
said on
fair,
this podcast.
that's a fair assessment of this movie.
I think the source of your confusion is the fact that they were confused about every part of the Hercules legend and didn't really try to get it right.
I appreciated the fact that all the women wore the skimpiest outfits based on age for no apparent reason. Like Circe goes to a witch in like long robes, and all of a sudden she's in a bathing suit once she becomes young and has to go on an adventure. It's like, when did she change?
Well, there's not a lot of trivia in this movie, but one thing I can tell you in trivia is the original script had a lot more sex and violence in it, and Lou Ferrigno showed up at the producer's office, took the script, threw it in the garbage, told him what he thought of it, and got it changed to be more of a family film. So it still skirts that edge a few times with some of those outfits. But, it's not what it could have been.
So
it would have made it for a better movie.
He did want it to have more sex, right?
No, he did not. He wanted it to be a family film.
No, Lou would not want
I'm
that.
now blaming him for this movie.
Now I'm upset at both
and
Joseph
Sybil
Campbell
Danning
and Lou Ferrigno.
And Sybil Danning does the same thing. She thinks this movie would have been much better. She was quoted as saying, with the original script, with the sex and violence put in there. Plus, in there, she had a sex scene with Lou Ferrigno, and she developed a crush on him during the course of this film. So she was pretty pissed off that got taken out.
And in all honesty, I mean, Lou Ferrigno is a wonderful man. He's a sweet guy, and that's
right. Our podcast sponsor, WTP, didn't they on We Talk Podcasts? If you look up on that website, isn't there a guy? His name isn't Stan, but he sure sounds like you.
A little bit, but not quite the same. So that's right.
No, it's a guy who sounds strangely like you, but who interviewed him.
I think they both sound strange.
Well, yeah, I mean, undoubtedly. But, I mean, this is podcasting. We all sound strange. But, no, and that's the thing, right? I mean, Lou, wonderful guy. But the problem being. He looks great for this kind of movie, but I think that you're of two camps. There is that Lou Ferrigno hope of making this into that like big box office-y like hero movie, and then there's actually the one that you had the budget for, which was really to make it like a Penthouse movie in a way, and kind of make it Caligula and toss in more sex and that kind of thing. So for our purposes, it's a shame we didn't get the right one.
Well, that's the thing. Violence and especially sex is the cheapest special effect there is.
Yeah.
That you can put into a movie like this, and they didn't do it. A movie like this is, frankly, for a movie was so incredibly reliable, or rely so heavily on its special effects, the special effects aren't good, and that's really what hurts it as a film. Now, as a Cult Film Showdown film, that's a whole other matter, right?
It's
we
true.
do not score this on objective quality.
No, and I mean, what really sucks is the fact that they've dubbed out Lou Ferrigno's voice. So, you don't even get that.
His speech impediment, especially back then, was much worse than it is now. And they didn't do a bad job as that.
No, but I looked forward to hearing Lou in his Lou voice actually say those lines, and then it's just like, no, don't do that.
Well, he didn't know they were going to do that.
I know they made the excuse of his speech impediment, but this is an Italian film. They never use the actors' real voices. It's all ADR afterward.
Sybil Danning's real voice.
International casts don't speak the same language, so they film it without sound.
I don't think this is filmed without sound.
I don't think so, but hey,
It was common practice in Italian cinema, though.
No, perhaps, but I'm pretty sure this was not filmed without sound.
It could have. Who knows? It could have been, but whatever.
He's as far as from looking it up, he's the only character they talk about being ADR'd. So who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
We're going to talk about any of the craziness of the actual film.
Well,
we're talking about the production, but what about the actual film? What did you guys learn from Hercules?
I learned that Hercules made the constellation Ursa Major by throwing a bear into space. That wasn't something I knew.
You know what I learned? I learned that fucking Clean Space shouldn't be going after the Operation Jeep or whatever. They should be going after Hercules because he kept tossing everything into space.
He did, yeah.
Tossed a bear into space, kept tossing logs into space. I mean, he's way worse for space than the Space Jeep.
Oh yeah, it's starting to run out of space in space thanks to him.
Yeah.
That's why 2,000 years later, Clean Space has got to put a stop to it.
Yep.
I hope everyone listens to these episodes in order.
Well, if you haven't, no, we've talked about Panther Squad again, so people should go back and listen.
Yeah, it's like a crossover.
Yep.
No, so what else did you guys learn? I mean, I learned that.
What did you learn there?
I learned I knew a whole lot less about the Hercules legend than I did a couple hours before I watched this movie.
I learned that filmmakers knew a lot less about the Hercules legend than you did from watching this movie. Yeah. I learned that back in the sword and sandal age, that didn't mean that there weren't lasers and swords. Yeah, I mean, there's lots to learn from this film. It's it's informative.
Joseph Campbell. It's all laser swords.
Isn't that the same guy who wrote Who Goes There? Joseph W. Campbell? Is that a different guy?
I think that'll be a different guy. Yeah.
Yes.
The Joseph Campbell I'm referring to was a mythology PhD who influenced George Lucas. So I don't know who the guy is you're talking about.
And also
he wrote The Thing from Another World that went on to become The Thing from Another World and The Thing.
Yeah, totally not that one. Totally not that one. No.
Okay.
Joseph Campbell of Apocalypse Now, like inspired that story as well. Yes.
Yeah. People want to know more about Joseph Campbell, so let's switch the conversation over to that some more.
Yes, that's perfect. Perfect. The hero's journey. Okay. So.
The hero's journey. Yes. Okay. Now I'm understanding. Bastard.
Okay. I don't know if we have anything else to say that's going to be of particularly germane until we get to scoring.
Well, let's get to that then.
That's your main guy.
Joseph Conrad.
Oh, Conrad. Yeah. Jeez. Oh, yeah. Boy. Oh, boy. See, now, I mean, it's obviously way too.
All right, we're accidentally forgetting stuff now.
Yes.
Hercules
We're
has
not
done the
accidentally.
opposite
We're
of
just
teaching
not
us.
We're just not as smart as we think we are.
Hercules has done the opposite of teaching us things. It's made us forget things.
I'm completely lost. I don't know.
All right, in our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality and none of which are loyalty to Greek myth. The first category is called Schlock Appeal, and we start with Stan.
It's an interesting case in this movie because there's some moments that I really did enjoy it, like where there's some heavy schlock, where there's some real action, where there's, just a good-looking attempt at a movie. The problem I found was that it's really too long for that. Like it just seemed like the constant throwing in of these quests to do, probably could have done with about 3 less of them, really. But I think that they really, kind of tried to give you that over-the-top action movie. They just were a little bit not good at it in this case, which is kind of weird for canon. But I'm going to go with 6.
This is sort of the case of the sum being greater the sum being less than the sum of its parts. I mean, this movie should have been schlocky as hell. And it's all there in little pieces. But somehow it doesn't add up to a whole lot of schlock. I mean, you got Lou Ferrigno, you got sword and sandals, you got monsters, you got stop motion animation, you got robots. But watching it, and it doesn't make any sense. And I'm spending the entire movie trying to figure out, okay, we have Circe on the Isle of Lesbos, but she falls in love with Hercules. And Hera doesn't like Hercules, but he's not Zeus's son. I just got confused, and it didn't feel like schlock. I should just be able to roll with it, and I couldn't roll with any of this movie. It's a sword and sandal movie, and Lou Ferrigno looks the part as Hercules. He looks more like Hercules than any Hercules I've ever seen. So I'll go up to a 6. It should have been a 12, but it's only a 6.
I'll agree. The film is too long with Stan. Like, first half hour, I'm loving it. About halfway through, I'm liking it, and then I start to get bored as it goes on. So
he's fighting a phoenix with a sword, and you get bored. How does that happen?
I don't know, man. I just did. I think it's because it's all kind of the same. All the fights, there's never any there's never any doubt that he's going to win or anything like that. Like it's structured so weird in that way. And then it's just kind of the same sequences that feel the same over and over again. So I don't know, man. I just got bored as it went on. Now that said, I'm not really at this point in my life, the target audience for this film. The target audience for this film would have been like 8-year-old me. And 8-year-old me would have loved this film back in the day. In fact, I'm not even so sure I didn't see this film and love it back in the day. To be honest with you, I can't really recall, but I'm pretty sure, like, as far as that, I think it has appeal to the target audience, and especially back in the era when it was made. And I do think it's super schlocky because they just didn't have the budget to pull off things, but they just did it anyways, and that causes a level of schlock. So I'm giving it a 7.
I think the parts are there. I usually go by the the water cooler idea of like, what'd you watch last night? I watched Lou Ferrigno's Hercules. Well, that seems wacky. That seems like it'd be a lot of fun. So 6 is all I'm going to give it, though. More heart than budget. The budget I found was $2.5 million in 1983.
I found $6 million. So, as usual, we do not have a consensus, but somewhere between $6 million and 2.5.
Yes. I think the thing about the budget, and actually, I'll say that I won't say that I was impressed with the special effects because that would be going too far. But what I will say is that I was impressed with the way that they really tried with everything. Like, even though they had this ridiculous script to work with, even though they had, these really awful special effects, I love the fact that they just put everything out there, and they did truly try to jam everything and the kitchen sink into this movie. And so, and Lou Ferrigno, I mean, I really enjoyed his performance, and I enjoyed, like, everybody else's performance. So I think that there's a lot to like about this movie from this regard, so I'm going to go with a 7.
Now, for me, heart is where this film fails. I didn't find any of the performances particularly memorable. I actually was operating under the assumption Lou Ferrigno didn't completely have the script memorized. They were just sort of going, go over there, lift a rock, say 4 words, we'll dub it in afterward. I didn't get the sense anyone really knew what was going on, and even watching the film, I didn't know what was going on. I think they had too much money. This is sort of a fix-it-in-post type movie. They just kept shooting and shooting, and they had enough money afterward to sort of cobble together something that looks like a movie but is not a movie. I can only give it a 3.
Wow, I love the Nick's problem with this movie is that Hercules didn't stick close enough to the continuity.
But if they had created a believable world, I wouldn't get on them about it, but they didn't.
You're asking...
I love that about it.
Do you realize what show you're on? Do you realize that this is the Cult Film Showdown? I'd like to suggest that a believable world is not available to us at all.
Yeah, but I should be entertained by it, and I wasn't.
Well, that's interesting. I think that, like, there's a scene in there where we talk about it already. He fights a grizzly, and they clearly don't have the money to make a good grizzly suit. So they try and hide it with the quick cuts and with stealing actual scenes of the grizzly from the 1976 Jaws in the Woods ripoff Grizzly.
Awesome movie.
Yeah,
Jaws
awesome.
with Paws.
Yeah, Jaws with Paws is a good way to put it. It's an awesome movie. And I'm sitting there. In fact, I remember when we were doing, I did the Don't Go in the Woods, Don't Go in the Water. That was going to be my In the Woods movie. Now I've been totally thrown off guard by that. But anyways, or not off guard, but off track. But anyways, the point being that they don't have they do everything they can to hide how bad the bear suit is. They took the effort to do that, but they still put the bear suit in there, and you can still tell how terrible it is. There's a lot of continuity errors and little things in this movie where it's like they tried, but they don't know what the hell they're doing. I appreciate how much effort there is for only $2.5 million to $6 million to try and do a movie with this level of special effects that you clearly cannot pull off. What an effort. I got an 8 on this.
I won't be quite as charitable, but I do think that they stretch their bucks. I gotta hand it to the costume designers who, despite the drive to a family movie, kept Cassiopeia in a small seashell bra for a goodly chunk of the movie. So it didn't hearten me. 6 is what I got, though.
If Lou Ferrigno got himself in the best shape of his life, and that's saying something.
Yeah, he was in amazing shape.
He got himself in incredible shape for this film. He cared enough to do that. That's for damn sure.
What the fuck moments?
I mean, yeah, it's a really interesting thing because there's a lot of moments. I mean, you talk about the bear suit. I mean, it's a bad bear suit, but the way they tried to cover it up, like, I actually forgive a lot of the moments because they swung for the fences so many times, and so I think that What the Fuck is a little bit lacking to a certain degree for me for that. Now, there's a couple of moments that I did notice, like one that was just so egregious was the waterfall as Hercules' boat is about to go over the waterfall, and like you can tell that it's this like boat that's kind of superimposed over top of the water, and then the hand that comes out and grabs the boat is maybe the single worst special effect in the universe.
So yeah.
So that right there, that's like, oh, you maybe could have just cut that whole scene out. Maybe that just would have been the best thing.
Just like happened to Moses.
Yeah, just like happened to Moses. And then my favorite part of the whole movie was the part where he's with Circe it's Daedalus and King Minos, and she's talking about how she has this beast that is going to fire cosmic rays at him, and all I could think of in my head was, oh, this is so sweet. Cosmic rays are going to blast Hercules, turning him into the Incredible Hulk. It was just like, that was kind of what I wanted. That was like, I know it's not gamma rays, but at least it's like, let's.
Hey, at least could have put him into the thing.
Yeah, that's right. Some kind of thing. But, honestly, I mean, it's a fun movie, and there is some what the fucks, but I'm not as big on it as I think, maybe other people will be. A 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're in that genre that, it's sword and sandal. It's supposed to be over the top. It's supposed to be stupid. It's supposed to be cheesy. And most of the stuff that is just doesn't make sense and like that is not supposed to. I mean, him throwing a rock to power the chariot to fly to Atlantis doesn't make any freaking sense whatsoever. That's not how anything works.
He threw a lot of rocks.
Yeah, he threw a lot of rocks. And, there's a lot of water management with, like, aqueducts and stuff that, which time could have been spent fighting lions. But is it what the fuck when it's sword and sandal and most of it's on purpose? And can be, I mean, sure, there's the bad special effects, but that can just be explained away with Golden Globus producing this sucker. So I can't go over the top. And considering the amount of wacky shit in this movie, it should be over the top. But I can't. It's a 6.
Yeah, we're kind of all along the same lines here, where we feel like this film should have had more WTF than it does.
This should be my favorite film of all time, and isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I got a 6 on this as well. And I mean, and it's not that they aren't there. It's that there's nothing that's huge. It's all a bunch of small ones. Now, I do love the end when there's supposed to be like lava, and instead it's just clearly a waterfall, and they change the color with a bunch of like rainbow color for some reason there, and that was just funny to me, and different things. But my favorite WTF, and it's really, really quick, so you guys might not have noticed, but it's when there's the baby. Well, okay, there's the part where he's turning a wheel, turning a wheel. That's right out of Conan. Literally, that's a scene that's like right out of Conan, and this movie would not have existed without Conan. I thought that was a WTF, but the biggest one, like I say, he's a baby, and he's attacked by these 2 snakes. And in order to kill the snakes, they have a close-up of him choking the snakes. And not only from the size of the hands is it clearly those of an adult man, not a baby, but they couldn't even bother to not find a guy with a wrist tattoo. So it's a quick cut. It's only in there for a second, but there's some adult hands. The guy has a wrist tattoo on that the baby does certainly not have. And I thought that was hilarious. So 6.
That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna have to go back and look for that because that's good fun. I think he throws a bear into space and it makes Ursa Major. And then he throws a log into space, and I, honest to God, had a moment of like, what constellation is a log?
Oh, totally. Me too.
Yes. Like, is that going to be a no? It's just thrown into space.
Is that the most strongest grizzly, by the way? Because I mean, if he can throw things into space, and that thing gives him an even fight, I mean, what is going on there?
His comparable power is just like all over the place in the film. He throws himself into space. I thought that was pretty cool. Where he, through the, because then I started thinking like, I mean, rule of 3, you gotta have a third thing you throw into space, and like sort of himself. But the Ursa Major thing didn't pay off, so don't expect too much. We mentioned the Hydra. So Daedalus has these 3 mechanical monsters that they're really tiny when they're looking at them, and she says, well, don't worry about it. Like when they hit Earth's atmosphere, they grow really big. And he's like, all right, sounds fair enough. And they're probably looking at the actual miniatures that are then used for the stop motion. And so the third one being the Three-Headed Hydra, right before he like finds Cassiopeia. But what's weird is that right before he sees the Hydra, Hera, who's the Circe. Circe tells him, "You're about to fight the Hydra."
Yeah. Well, and that's the
didn't exist until like partway through this movie.
Well, and that's why it's so confusing, because it's just like, and like we talked about earlier, that's Cerberus's domain. So the idea that it's just like suddenly she knows that you're supposed to face the Hydra, and so I just assumed, he's going to face the real Hydra, and then he's actually going to have to face the mechanical, like, King Ghidorah Hydra, and then it's just like, so yeah, it was Mecha Hydra, yeah. And
Mecha Hydra. I got to give some extra WTF props to Jack, who said the best part was the first half hour, and it takes 20 minutes to introduce Luke Ferrigno.
That it is amazing, the whole like, and in the beginning there was stuff.
I think it's because that reminded me so much of Superman, and I dig that movie.
Yeah, I mean Superman's like a 4-hour long movie or something, so it takes like 45 minutes or something to get to Superman.
Yeah.
But I would have given this a 5. I'm finishing at a 7 because when Zeus says he's gonna create Hercules, he says, I'm going to make him stronger and more intelligent than all men. And all I could think is, like, that line was written because Lou Ferrigno said, despite the fact there will be nothing in the film to reflect that he's the smartest of all men. Not a single time is he required to use his intellect to solve a problem.
And typically avoids it.
Zeus makes a point that he will be more intelligent than all other men.
No, he figured out the Stygian stables.
He did figure that out. He was intelligent enough to figure that out.
Which is amazing, given that, like, the drop on that, like, he threw 2 rocks into it, and the drop on that was, like, hundreds of feet, and those 2 rocks managed to get the water to come up over the over there. So I mean
you gotta respect that one because it's the one bit of real Hercules.
Oh, I know, and that's exactly it, right? Where it's just like you've got the one bit in there, and it's like, okay,
I did have a moment at the start of that scene where he's like, you got to clean out the stables. There's 1,000 horses, and I'm like, am I gonna get 5 minutes of Hercules really like quickly shoveling poop?
That's actually kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah,
that's next couple of minutes of the movie for me.
Yeah, the Benny Hill theme and like
fast motion. Yeah. 7 for me. Memorable moments.
I think I will remember Lou Ferrigno and how jacked he looked. As far as the actual movie goes, I think that when it comes down to like memorable aspects, I think that it's really going to be the fact that I'll see Hercules and think, oh, I remember that having not a lot to do with Hercules. That's about what my takeaway from this is. Probably 4? 3.
Yeah, I'm going with the 3 too. Just because I'm curious about it, I'm going to watch the other film that's filmed back to back with this, the 7 Magnificent Gladiators, Sinbad, and the sequel to this probably this week.
There's a sequel to this?
There is indeed, yeah.
Adventures of Hercules.
Adventures of Hercules,
filmed without
Hercules 2.
Lou Ferrigno knowing, though.
It's just like deleted scenes from this one?
No. It's Golden Globus told the director of this film that he needed some pickup shots for the last film they shot with Lou Ferrigno. They got 3 scenes with Lou Ferrigno, and then Golden Globus came back to that director and went, these scenes are too good to put in that movie. Why don't you just link it up and we'll make another Hercules film? Lou Ferrigno did not know he was Hercules in that film.
I love those two. Those 2 scam artists were the greatest.
But I can honestly say, after I watch those 3 films, I will not be able to latch on to a moment that happened in this film and distinguish from all the others. So, yeah, 3.
It's remarkable to me that Nick spends the whole time going, I did not enjoy this. So I'm going to watch the other film that's filmed at the same time with the same cast, and I'm going to watch the sequel.
Yeah. Sybil Danning, I believe, shows her breasts in one of them.
Well, it's not the 7 Gladiators she doesn't. That's also a PG film.
Yeah. I'm going to get some breasts and Lou Ferrigno in the same scene, man.
Well, you can see Lou Ferrigno all damn day.
Not this. I'm telling you, family. He wanted family-friendly stuff, but it's just hilarious to me. But hey, I respect that about you. You're a completionist, Nick. I respect the hell out of that.
And as I said, I should have loved this film, and
also PG.
It had all the elements, and
yeah, I give it to you. So when I think of Hercules, even before I've seen this, because I might have seen this as a child, but I'm not sure. I definitely saw the box cover a billion times at the video store and everything. When I think of Hercules, I've always thought of Lou Ferrigno. Like that's my image. It's not the Marvel Hercules. It's certainly not The Rock. It's not even the cartoon, even though I was a fan of that as well. It's Lou Ferrigno. And of all the people ever cast as Hercules, he's the most Hercules of all of them, I think. He's ideal. So he's such a iconic image as this character to me that I'm going to give this a 6. Despite the fact there's nothing else, the fact that he is my Hercules, so to speak, is enough for me to give it a fair score.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think I get you that he's the most Hercules of Herculeses. Growing up, I had seen Hercules Goes Bananas, which has Schwarzenegger as Hercules, and this is still more Hercules in my head, despite not having even known that this movie existed until we were coming into the season. I also am in the look at the car accident while you drive by kind of way interested in Adventures of Hercules, at least skimming it. But I think the detail stuff is not going to stick. 4 for me. Caray's concept.
I think the idea that you put a Hercules movie together that had a wealth of source material, and you essentially avoided it completely to tell, a story, just of random things that you just decided to mash together. I think that in and of itself is crazy. The fact that for Lou Ferrigno you were willing to toss away a script of what you wanted to do and attempt a family-friendly movie, I think that's a crazy concept. So I think I'm going to go with an 8.
Yeah, the concept on this is kind of crazy. I mean, I can honestly say I think Golden Globus kind of wanted this movie to do for Sword and Sandal movies what Star Wars did with the Flash Gordon serial. They wanted to update it and make it new and spacey and awesome and a classic for all ages. And they were Golden Globus, and this happened. But yeah, it's friggin' nuts to try this, and it's even more friggin' nuts to all of a sudden go, you know what? We're gonna make this a family film. Yeah, 7 is the right score.
It is Golem and Globus and Canon Films trying to capture the popularity of another genre, another film that's already come out of Conan. I mean, the fact that they didn't know what they're doing is because they're completely, that's canon. But, the fact that they didn't use any source material, that's canon, it's Canon Films, man. Like it's a complete rip off of a billion other things. So that makes it kind of crazy, but on the other hand, it's totally generic and at its heart, at its goal and what it was trying to be and do. So I got a 6 on this.
This makes me the outlier in this one. I was not expecting this kind of difference, but as I mentioned in memorable moments, not knowing that there was a Hercules movie starring Lou Ferrigno, I just assumed that there was a Hercules movie starring Lou Ferrigno. It was perhaps the most obvious thing that you could think of when you looked at the guy. You're like, hey, that guy acts. I bet you we should do Hercules with him. So nothing else pushes it out of that for me. 2. All right, and we do punish films for being over 95 minutes, which this movie is. 98 minutes is the runtime. So it gets a -1 to its final score, and it gets a 55 out of 100, which puts it dead even with Dead End Drive-In and right behind Equalizer 2000.
I think this season will get better from here, though. I think we've gotten our 2 weakest films out of the way.
I guess we will find out. I actually don't know what the next film is.
Neither do I, but I have my fingers crossed for a Chained Heat.
Howling 2 is our next film.
Ooh, that one's a good too. That one, the German title is The Howling 2, I believe, something bitch.
Yeah, it's also your sister is a werewolf, I think, is the other.
Yeah, that's the subtitle to it. Yes, I mean either way, it's fantastic because it was shot as an art film, so it's like I look forward to that part.
It does suck though that I'm going to have to watch The Howling first, so I know what's going on in this.
Sure you are. Yes,
you want, Nick, can you in the meantime do a summary of Howling 1 so that we don't have to watch it?
I'd like to watch it, and no, those transformation sequences that I remember in The Howling are really long.
All right. Well, Jim, how about some business?
All right. Well, we at the Cult Film Showdown have launched a Patreon. You can go there. You can find out how to support us. We like money. That's going to keep the lights on here at the Cult Film Showdown. Keep us looking for the ultimate B movie. We're going to search as long as we can possibly can. And we are also on Instagram at Cult Film Showdown. And we are sponsored by WeTalkPodcast.com, the home of the Octagon. And they have Facebook and they have a Twitter. And we are also on YouTube at Cult Film Showdown.
Yeah, it's a compound, right? It's kind of like the Omega Cop compound, you know.
That's right. We just imagine that Adam West is waiting, waiting to
let us in. Yes.
Judge us.
I wish I remembered Omega Cop at all. 15 seasons, man. It's starting to run together.
15 seasons.
Over 100 films now in our search.
Wow, it is a lot of movies that we're trying to cram into our heads. It's a good thing we have Nick to help us out with that.
At least Ninja 3: The Domination is still fresh in my head.
Well, it's still the best.
All right. Well, season 15 carries on, of course, with Howling to Your Sister, My Sister, Somebody's Sister is a Werewolf, and I look forward to it. Sybil Danning, I always look forward to as well. So, unless anybody has anything else to say, I say we wrap up and go to some Howling. Perfect. All right. So, for Jim and for Jack and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and thanks for listening to the Cult Film Showdown.
From the depths of space comes the strongest man on Earth in the Super Adventure Odyssey. Hercules. The incredible Lou Ferrigno is Hercules. In a battle with unearthly creatures, Hercules, the superhuman hero, with the strength of an army. Hercules facing love and the bewitching forces of evil. Hercules, the all-new adventure. Hercules, a mythic flight of the imagination. Hercules, the legend comes alive. The incredible Lou Ferrigno is Hercules, a Golan Globus production.